Hello, my name is FPL Pickle and welcome back to another video. So today I'm really excited to announce a new series to the channel called Pickle's Previews. So I've got a slide here that briefly summarises what Pickle's Previews will involve. So after each game week we'll talk a little bit about the highlights from that game week and some discussion points around that. And then we'll also delve into some dilemmas from you guys, so that will be Pickle's pointers. Then I'll also be discussing some dilemmas around my own team, and that will be Pickle's predicaments. And then we'll also have Pickle's punts, which will be talking about what players I think could be really good for the upcoming game week. And then I have Pickle's passes, which will be players that I'm not really that keen on and don't really get the hype about. And then finally we'll have Pickle's predictions, so I'll be using my gut feeling to come up with 3 predictions each week on what I think will happen in the upcoming game week. And I'll make a little bit of a game out of that, which you'll see at the end, so please stay tuned for that. So if you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like, and if you're new around here, please consider subscribing as well. I'd really appreciate the support. And down in the comments, I'd be really interested to know what parts of the video you really like, or if there's anything that you think I could add to this video, or even if there's anything that if there's a part of the video that you're not so keen on, I'd be really interested to hear about that as well. So yeah, again, I hope you enjoy the video, and with that in mind, let's get into it. So guys, because we obviously don't have a game week to summarise or provide highlights on yet, I thought I'd give you some pre-season updates instead. And I'm not going to talk about every single thing, but I thought I'd highlight some news from a few teams of which I thought had quite a lot of news surrounding them. So we'll discuss that now. So to start off with, Villa, of course. And who else to begin with than Ollie Watkins? I mean, he has been on fire this pre-season. Scored in every single pre-season game with 5 goals, 1 assist, and he's just been absolutely on fire. I think, personally, I don't know if you can even argue going without him at this point. I mean, obviously, there's no player that is absolutely essential, really, but I think based on form, Ollie Watkins is someone that you've got to have in your team. He's just been absolutely incredible. And yeah, just surrounding the team as a whole, there's been a lot going on. So Rodgers, a bit concerned about injury. It doesn't seem like it's overly serious. He got injured in the Roma game, I think it's right ankle. But he hasn't been in any of the pre-season friendlies since, which is to be expected. But whether he starts in game week 1 or not it's a bit touch and go. So I mean, I'm personally not going to take the risk. I think as much as I wanted him in my team, I think I'm just going to hang fire and see whether he turns up or not, and then maybe I'll jump onto him in the future. And yeah, as well as that, there's been a lot of new players kind of being thrown into the mix, or people that are leaving. So Gessender's signed. So I think, because he can play up front and on the right, so I think in terms of Marlon now, as amazing as he sounded at 5.5 million, I don't think we can go for Marlon now. I think his minutes are just too risky. It's a shame, because I think that, you know, it'd be really good if he could get some more game time. And he might do, and I think he has a lot of potential, but I just think with the new signing, I don't think it's worth going with him now, as amazing as it did sound. So yeah, that's that. And then Ramsey, I'm not sure whether it's officially been confirmed yet, but it seems like the deal's quite close to being done. Seems like Jacob Ramsey's now moving to Newcastle, I was quite surprised by that actually, but 40 million, so pretty good deal. And the fact that there are talks of Asensio potentially coming back on loan. So with all of this in mind, it's kind of like, how are we going to line up this season? It honestly feels like, other than Watkins and Rodgers at the moment, you can't, I don't know, I think it's too risky to go with any of the other attackers. And the thing is, if Asensio does sign, he's probably going to play in the 10, and then that pushes Rodgers out to the right, or even the left now that Ramsey's probably going. And you can argue that that's not overly great for Rodgers either. So there's a lot going on. I think I'm going to have Watkins, but I think I'm happy with that for now. And it'll be interesting just hang fire and see how all of this pans out, and who does end up being in the squad itself, and how they will line up each week. So yeah, you'll have to let me know what you guys think, and whether there are any other players other than Watkins and Rodgers that you still want to go for. But for me, I think I'm going to hang fire. And then Everton have had a couple of new signings, so Dewsbury Hall being a very big one, especially at 5 million. And in the last pre-season game, this man started as a 10, he was on set pieces, and Everton fans were very, very pleased with him. So he's become a very, very exciting pick, especially at that price point. But now Jack Grealish is also signed for Everton, and I guess there's a little bit of debate on how's that going to affect Dewsbury Hall. Is it going to push him a little bit deeper? How it's going to impact NDI. I don't feel like it's going to impact NDI all that much, but there's been, because of all that, people are a little bit uncertain. And I'll be honest, I don't feel qualified enough to give my own opinion really, but I think that Dewsbury Hall could still be a really interesting option, especially at 5 million. But I think for now I'm going to hold off and just see how things pan out. And also, we know about Beto, and I'll talk a bit Beto a little bit more later anyway, but Barry, the new signing, started ahead of him against Roma, so I think in terms of Barry and Beto, as nice as they sounded for 5.5 in the forward line, I think they're just both voids. I don't think it's worth risking them with their minutes, so yeah. Forest, I mean, 5 clean sheets, I mean, fantastic, especially when we're looking at having the likes of Williams, Murillo, Milenkovic, and even Sells. I'm kind of considering the double up now, but I'm not too sure. But 1 goal in 7 games. Ooh, not good. I feel like Alanga's been a big loss for them. So, I mean, I've thought about Wood very, very early on in pre-season, but for now I'm not interested unless they kind of sort things out a little bit. Their attack's just not good enough for me at the moment. Also, they've been linked with players like Leif Davis and Simicast, and I guess it's just thinking like, oh, is this going to be a bit risky? Is it going to be risky picking Nico Williams now? I'm not too sure, and again, we'll talk about that a little bit later as well, but yeah, we'll have to see how that pans out anyway. Neither of these things were official, it's just kind of rumours or deals, like negotiations that have been talked about, so yeah, I just thought I'd make you aware of that. Now, it seems very chaotic in the Crystal Palace camp at the moment. Obviously, we saw that Crystal Palace beat Liverpool in the Community Shield the other day, which was an amazing watch. And we saw that when Crystal Palace won a pen, Mateta took it ahead of Eze, and then Eze missed his pen in the penalty shootout, so that was the thing. But there's also just so many transfer rumours going on within that squad at the moment. So Eze's been linked with not only Arsenal, but Spurs now. Gay's linked with Liverpool, and there's even rumours around Newcastle being interested in Mateta. So there's just so many uncertainties going on at the moment with Crystal Palace. And so that alone is making me think, oh, do I even want to go anywhere near them at this point? But not only that, because Crystal Palace lost their appeal, they're now in the Europa Conference League, and they need to now play. They now need to play in the playoffs, and these are going to happen between game weeks 1 and 2 and game weeks 2 and 3. So they've got all these games for the next couple of game weeks. They're kind of back to back with games. They're going to have to play a lot of minutes. So that, on top of the fact that there's loads of transfer rumours going on, I think unfortunately, even though I was really, really hot on Crystal Palace before, I feel like they're just a bit of an avoid at the moment. There's just too much going on, and I think I'd rather wait until the dust has settled. The deadline with transfer windows is gone, and just see what's happening and how the team kind of lines up. If people do leave, how are they working without them? And how they're coping after all of these games that they have to play, because there could be injuries that happen as well. So yeah, it all seems a bit chaotic over there, and unfortunately I think because of that I'm going to avoid them for now. Liverpool, I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of exciting stuff going on. I mean, new signings with the likes of Wirtz, Ekatike, and Wirtz looks really, really good, to be fair. 1 goal, 3 assists, and he's been on some set pieces as well. And a player that we haven't really talked about that much, or I haven't really seen that many people talk about, is Gakpo. He has the most attacking returns out of any of the Liverpool players, with 4 goals, 1 assist. And I don't know, this should be me thinking maybe I shouldn't be stubborn, but part of me thinks, oh, I'm not too sure about him. But in front of me I can see a player that's obviously doing really, really well, but in the back of my mind I'm just worried about minutes for some reason. Can someone please reassure me in the comments, because he could be a really interesting option at 7.5 mil, or am I right in feeling a little bit worried about him? And then of course we can't forget Salah. he hasn't had the best of pre-seasons, let's be honest. 1 goal, I think, the whole of pre-season, and he's missed 2 penalties now. Missed one in the Community Shield, and I think he's still going to be on penalties, to be honest with you, but I guess it does make you wonder, like, could someone else take him off him, like McAllister, for example. Despite all that, though, I think I'm still going to have him anyway. It's Mo Salah, you know, and maybe that bias is, like, where people go wrong, but every year I feel like we think like this and then it just backfires, so I'm going to keep him anyway. And also, just defensively, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not very convinced. No clean sheets. They weren't very good at all, to be honest, against Crystal Palace. I just think they have so many new players, and I haven't even mentioned the likes of Kirkes and Frimpong. And, you know, these defensive players, they're going to take a little bit of time to gel together, I think. And at the moment, they're not very, very solid at the back, in my opinion, and Van Dijk hasn't been at his best by any means. So, yeah, I had Van Dijk for a while, but I'm thinking, is it even worth going for a Liverpool defender at the moment? I feel like they need some time to kind of adjust. And it's all well and good saying that, you know, they will get better, give them time. But in terms of FPL, do I really want to be giving them time despite the fixtures? So, especially when there are other kind of defenders available that in teams that have better defences, at least right now, like Nottingham Forest, for example. So, yeah, I don't know. I wonder what you guys think about it. Are you still going to go for the likes for Van Dijk, or are you kind of put off them a little bit based on pre-season performance like I am? You'll have to let me know. So like I mentioned, we haven't talked about everything here, but I think that there are some other things that are worth keeping an eye on, like the Isak news. All of that seems really unsettled at the moment. Teams like Brentford, they seem to be looking for a new striker, and even bits of injury news like Kelleher, just keeping on top of that and seeing whether he could be fit ahead of the deadline. So I know that it's difficult, but I think it's really worth trying to keep on top of all of this news, because I think it will optimise your chances of producing a good Game Week 1 team before the deadline. So yeah, like I said, it is a bit difficult trying to keep up with all this news. It's a bit of a whirlwind and it's ever changing, but just trying your best to keep on top of it is the best way to go, I would say. So yeah, with that in mind, let's move on to the predicaments. So I know that I mentioned earlier that I would do a Pickles Pointers where I'd be answering your dilemmas, but this week I've decided to just do dilemmas around my own team, because I feel like we're all going to have pretty similar dilemmas anyway, but from Game Week 2 onwards I will be doing a Pickles Pointers. So if you have any dilemmas for me, then please make sure to keep an eye out on my Twitter, which is FPL_pickle, because I'll upload a tweet asking about what dilemmas you may have, which I can try and answer in this video. So yeah, from Game Week 2 onwards that'll be involved, but for now we're just going to focus on Pickles' predicaments. So I have a whole big list here on the kind of dilemmas that I have ahead of Game Week 1, and I'm not going to lie, my brain's a bit frazzled at the moment. I uploaded a video last week about my plans for Game Week 1 and how I was looking at a bench boost free, and it still looks really nice, but I just think with all the options available, I'm now wondering whether it's the way to go. Because I'm not going to lie, in the past, I do plan, of course, but I've never been a massive bench boost planner. Especially towards the start of the season, I've always just kind of seen how it went, you know, how things go, and then I kind of plan accordingly later on. So trying to plan a bench boost at the start of the season felt quite new for me. And I'll be honest, the fact that I was spending so much time looking at it and trying to perfect it kind of suggested to me that maybe it's not the right way to go. I mean, I haven't completely ruled it out, but I'm now thinking, maybe do I put a little bit less money on my bench and try and focus on my starting 11 and just try and optimise that, and then maybe think about a bench boost down the line. I'd be really interested to know what you guys are thinking, because I know that people were very hot on bench boost 1, 2, 3 at the start of the pre-season, but I feel like over the last week or so that's kind of died down and I'm feeling the same way about it. So yeah, you'll have to let me know if you're still planning to bench boost quite early on in the season or not. And then number 2, like I kind of mentioned earlier, especially with the likes of Van Dijk and things, I'm wondering, are the £6 million defenders even worth the money? Like I mentioned, I'm not overly convinced by Liverpool defence at the moment, even though Liverpool have better fixtures. Well, from 4 onwards, really, 2 and 3 aren't really that good. But I don't know, it just doesn't really fill me with excitement. And then there's players like Vardiol, which I looked at very early on, but he wasn't even in the last preseason game. He wasn't in the squad, so that's a little bit concerning. And then I wouldn't really go for Cucurella because I've got Sanchez. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking maybe other likes of a Pedro Porro or a Milenkovic or a Murillo worth it more, especially with Porro actually, because now that Maddison's unfortunately out with an ACL injury, Pedro Porro is going to be on set pieces. And other than game week 2, really, they've got pretty nice fixtures, and I just think that he could be a very, very spicy pick. I mean, I remember not last season, but the season before, Pedro Porro was like an essential player almost. Like, you kind of had to have him. He was so attacking and just, he was quite scary not to own. So it would be quite exciting to think that maybe that Pedro Porro could be back. Then that is kind of speculations at the same time. So yeah, that's another one of my dilemmas. I'm kind of thinking, is it maybe worth going a little bit cheaper on the defence so I can put a bit more money into the midfield / forwards, which is another question actually. I've seen a lot of people going for the likes of Mark Guiu and stuff like that, but I don't really want Mark Guiu on my bench. I do like to have not a stacked bench, but I mentioned in my video of how to achieve a top 10k finish, I like to have at least 2 players, defenders, midfielders that I know will play. And Guiu's also flagged as not being fit at the moment, so I know that a lot of people just have him there so that they can afford more elsewhere, but I think I'd rather have a little bit more money on my forward line than that. I'm kind of thinking maybe like a 7.5 and a 6 mil maybe. Or is it worth maybe putting a little bit more money into the midfield and then having the likes of Mark Guiu on my bench? Because the issue with having more money in the forwards is that I kind of have to resort to having 2 5.5 million midfielders, which it doesn't feel great, but at the same time there's quite a lot of exciting options. So there's Reinders, there's Anderson, or is he exciting? Maybe that's debatable. There's the likes of Harry Wilson, there's a Dewsbury Hall even at 5 million, so there's quite a few options available. And I am wondering whether maybe toying with the idea of going for 2 5.5 million midfielders and then spending a little bit more in my forward line might be the better play. Because I'm thinking, if I have more money in the forward line, because there are so many options like a Mateta, like a Wood, like if these players start popping off, it'll be a lot easier for me to get to them compared to if I have a really cheap forward line, then I might struggle and I might be less flexible and I might struggle to get that money back into the forwards. So that's my thought process at the moment. It's kind of hard to say without showing you a team, but I kind of want to wait until my team selection, which will be out on Friday. So I'm being a bit cheeky trying to talk about it but not show you it. But yeah, that's another one of my dilemmas that I've got at the moment. You'll have to let me know what you think. Is having 2 5.5s a little bit too risky? And then talking about the midfield as well, a lot of people are talking about Wirtz and Bruno. A lot of people have both, and that's probably why they have Mark Guiu on their bench, and maybe that's worth it. But at the moment, I'm thinking, do I go with one or the other? Now, Wirtz, like I mentioned earlier, he's looked very, very good, very attacking, being very creative, creating a lot of chances, been on some set pieces as well. And I think it would be nice to have more cover in the Liverpool attack, especially with the fixtures that they have. And especially because I love Salah, but he's not been overly convinced at the moment. It might be nice having more than just Salah, if you do go for Salah, that is, which I am, but yeah. Or is it worth maybe going for Bruno, because Bruno he's on penalties first of all, Wirtz isn't. The Man United attack is looking a lot more promising now with Cunha, with Mbeumo, with Sesko coming in as well. I think they could be monstrous. And we know how good of a player Bruno Fernandes is. And yeah, the fact that he could, get those attacking returns, could get those penalties, could rack up those DEFCON points as well. And having that Burnley fixture in game week 3, I'm thinking, it might be better going with Bruno for now at first and maybe switching to Wirtz later, perhaps. Maybe in game week 4 or 5, but then I guess you could argue, do I just stick with Wirtz? and then have that little bit of money to use elsewhere, or even just to keep to the side to provide flexibility. So yeah, that's another debate that I have. Let me know down in the comments what you think, whether you prefer Wirtz, Bruno, or do you think it's wise to go with both? I would love to, but that just seems a bit difficult to me in terms of your team and how like flexible it, well, not flexible it becomes, but anyway, yeah. And then 6, the more I look at this, the more I think it's a bit of a stupid question. But with the rumours around Simicast and Leif Davis, I'm thinking, is Nico Williams going to be a bit of a minutes risk now? And should I just, if I went for Wirtz, for example, I could possibly go for the likes of a Milenkovic instead rather than a Williams, which would be safer, and Milenkovic does have that attacking threat. But Williams at 5 million, so good, like the ability to get DEFCON points and has the ability to get attacking returns as well. And don't forget, these are just rumours at the moment. Nothing's officially been done, like in terms of there's not been any official signings yet. But I just worry maybe in the long term is Williams not the best of ideas, and I suppose I could switch him in the future. But yeah, let me know what you think. Do you think I'm being silly? Do you think I'm wise thinking that it might be better to go for the likes of a Maria or a Milenkovic to begin with? Or do you think Williams at 5 mil still provides really, really good value and I should go for him? So yeah, I think that was a bit rambly, but yeah, I think it's kind of reflective of my brain at the moment with everything that's going on. There's been so much going on the past few days or so. I'm kind of struggling a little bit. So yeah, any feedback or advice would be very, very helpful, because yeah, it's a lot. So yeah, with that in mind, we'll now talk a little bit about some punts I would go for. So the first one of my Pickles punts is Reinders. Is this a little bit knee-jerky? Maybe, but a brace within 45 minutes, a cheap route into the Man City attack. I am kind of feeling it at the moment. I think he's going to play that kind of like advanced 8 role, and people are a bit worried that with Rodri out, he's going to be playing a little bit deeper. And obviously, Pep Roulette, we can't forget, that's not something that ever goes away. But I think for how cheap he is, I feel like it might be worth taking the risk on him. Because, Pep seemed really, really impressed with him, and I know what he's like, I'm not forgetting that. But he seemed very, very, very impressed with him. And, because I'm going with Salah, I can't have Haaland, and knowing that I could have a little bit of Man City attack would just make me feel a little bit better about my team. So, yeah, and with the fixtures they have as well, I'm very, very tempted. And he's one that, as risky as it is, it's not the most me pick ever, but I am quite tempted by it, and I wouldn't blame you guys if you felt the same way about it. You'll have to let me know what you think. Is he too risky or not? But for now, I'm gonna be all aboard the reindeers train. Not the reindeers, reindeers. So my next one is Fulkrug. I just think he could be a really, really nice forward enabler. Only at 6 mil, he's started 4 out of the 5 preseason games, and he's scored 3 goals, and one of those goals was when he came off the bench against Everton. He just seems really, really good. He's playing as a number 9. He seems to be playing well with Bowen. And, for 6 mil, I just think it seems like a little bit of a steal to me. I know that people are probably worried about minutes and that, but I think based on pre-season, I think he's going to be starting every game. And I know they don't have the best fixtures in the world, but Sunderland for game week 1's pretty nice. And yeah, I think just knowing that you'd have like I think starting forward on the bench or one to rotate with midfielders, I just think that he could be a really, really nice option. And especially if you're not really considering Bowen, because, Bowen is very expensive, especially if you've got the likes of Watkins as well. It's kind of hard to fit them all in. So I think for a little bit of that West Ham attack, I think Fulkrug could be a really, really nice option. You'll have to let me know what you think about that one. So the final player I'd like to talk about, and this might be one that people are surprised about, and I haven't really seen many people talking about him, is Nathan Collins from Brentford. I think that at 5 million, he could be a really, really cheeky differential. Last year, he was really, really good for DEFCON points, and I know that Brentford have lost a lot of players at the likes of Norgard and Burma and probably Wisser as well. and Kelleher's injured at the moment, but the fixtures are quite nice. Sunderland in game week 3, and I think that arguably it can make him even better for DEFCON points. He's also got a bit of attacking threat as well. Like, he's got 1 goal and 1 assist this pre-season already, so yeah, I think that he could be a really, really nice option. I think he's a little bit underrated, so you'll have to let me know what you think about that pick. I don't know whether I'll personally go for him right now, but he's definitely been in a few of my drafts, and I'm surprised I've not seen him in many more, to be honest with you. So moving on to Pickle's passes, so these are players that I would avoid personally going into game week 1. So the first one is Thiago from Brentford. I'm not convinced at all. He's gotten a goal in pre-season, but I just don't think he's really getting any service, and they've lost a lot of their creative players, like I talked about before. Like, Norgard's gone and Burmo's gone, and I just don't think that he's the future for Brentford at all. I think they're looking to sign a new striker, so personally, I don't really get the hype around him, and I don't think he's going to be going anywhere near my FPL team. I think the likes of Fulkrug, like I mentioned earlier, are probably a better option for 6 million. So yeah, he's an avoid for me. Another player that I would 100% avoid is Beto. At the very beginning of the preseason at 5.5, he sounded very interesting, and he would have been a nice, cheap forward to have in the team, but he hasn't really been performing all that well. Moyes has even said that he's quite disappointed with him and wants to see more from him. They've signed Barry, and Barry even started in the last pre-season friendly, so I just think as a whole we can't be going near Beto. And even when he was playing, I think he scored a penalty, but other than that, he didn't really do all that much. And Everton as a whole aren't really renowned for their attacking threat anyway. Despite the nice fixtures that they have. So yeah, Beto unfortunately is a complete avoid for me. And finally, another player that I wouldn't put in your FPL team is Mark Gay. Now, with the links to Liverpool, I kind of get why some people are popping him in their teams. It's like, oh, there could be a 4.5 million Liverpool defender. That's very exciting. But the thing is, it's not confirmed yet. And also, if he does go to Liverpool, who's to say that he even starts? Especially if Konate doesn't even go. I just think it's way too risky. And then if he does stay at Crystal Palace, like I mentioned before, there's a lot of uncertainty around the future of their players anyway, and they've got the Europa Conference League playoffs to play, so a lot of minutes for him. So I just think as a whole, he's just an avoid for me. Again, I understand why some people might be going there in case he moves to Liverpool, but even then, I just don't think it's the smartest of ideas, and I think there are many more 4.5 million defenders that you could go for in that position. So finally, guys, in this section, I'm going to be talking about my predictions for game week 1. So each week, this is just going to be some vibes that I've got going into the game week. What am I thinking could happen? It's not based on anything. It's just, have a feeling about something and, just put it out there. So what I'm going to do each week, I'm going to provide 3 different predictions, and they could be anything like the ones that are on the screen, or it could be like who I think could do really well, or who I think could blank when other people expect them to not blank, anything like that, just anything that's kind of in my gut feeling. And I've decided that if I get more than 10 predictions right across the season, then I will donate £100 to a charity of your choice. So in the comment section, I'd really appreciate it if you could let me know of some charities that you'd like me to donate to. I'll equally put out a tweet on my Twitter, well, X now, I keep saying Twitter, but yeah, I'll put out a post to ask this question also on what charities you'd like me to donate to if I get there. It could be that I even split it, like maybe donate £25 to 4 different charities. So you'll have to let me know what you think. But yeah, I thought I'd make a little bit of a game of it. So yeah, please support that in the comments and let me know what charities you'd like me to support if I get all of these predictions over the course of the season. I hope I do, to be honest. Hopefully my gut feeling does come to some good use here. So these are the ones that I've got for going into game week 1. So Fabian Schär receiving a red card. I mean, we've seen it before, and I know that Newcastle have just signed a centre back, but I think that Fabian Schär is still going to start, so I think he will be playing against Villa in game week 1. So yeah, that's just a cheeky gut feeling that I have. And then perhaps controversial, especially with all of the Everton players that people are looking at. But I think that Leeds will keep a clean sheet against Everton. I basically think it could be like a 0-0 result, basically. So yeah, that's the second one. And then the third one, maybe this is a little bit of narrative bias potentially, but I think that Wolves, we always talk about how they never win a penalty, but I have a feeling against Man City that they are going to win a penalty, and that'd be good to be fair, because then we get to see who scores it, because some people think it's Strand Larsen, which I personally think it is, but then some people think that Arias, the new signing, might take it. So yeah, that would be very interesting to see. So I hope that that would be right, because it would give us a lot of information. So yeah guys, we've now come to an end to my pickle preview video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments what your favourite section of the video was, and if there's anything that you think may be beneficial to add to the video, I'd be really interested to hear about it. And like I mentioned earlier, in future videos I will be doing a Pickles pointer section where I talk about your dilemmas, so keep an eye out on my X, which is at FPL_pickle, for the posts where I ask you to provide me with those dilemmas. And if you're interested, I have my FPL League code above, which is 5LIC13. So if you'd like to join my league, then please do. I'd really appreciate that, and I'd love to compete with as many of you as possible. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I have a couple of other videos on my channel, including a guide on how to achieve a top 10k finish. So if you're interested in that, then please click the description down below. And I look forward to seeing you guys very soon for a team selection video. Bye bye.